India Ratings is the first credit rating agency to launch a framework for environmental, social, and governance relevance disclosures, otherwise known as the ESG Relevance Disclosures. And to understand this framework and much more, I'd request you to stay tuned to the Expert Lounge, a podcast brought to you by India Ratings and Research, a Fitch Group company. Because ultimately, for opinions on risk and credit, India comes to us. Hi, I'm Siddharth Rego and welcome to the Expert Lounge. In today's podcast, our expert is Harshal Agrawal, a senior analyst at India Ratings. Harshal, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Siddharth, my pleasure.
Right, so Harshal, let's just deep dive into today's topics. ESG relevance disclosures. Can you help us with the meaning of that?
Sure, Siddharth. So ESG relevance disclosure is our in-house framework which we have developed to communicate how ESG factors are relevant and material to the credit rating of the entities.
Right,
Now,
right.
the framework considers 14 ESG factors, of which 5 factors are for environmental, 5 factors are for social, and 4 factors are for governance.
Interesting.
And they have been basically drawn from globally accepted SASB framework. It's not that ESG is new to the credit rating agency. We
Yeah,
have already
yeah.
incorporated those in our credit rating assessments earlier. It's just that we are trying to highlight the ESG risk in our rating action commentary for
Okay.
our issuers and investors transparently.
Right. So thanks for putting things into context. I think there were two words which I really picked up on when you
Right.
gave that answer. One was relevance, and second is materiality. So maybe if you can start off with relevance, can you maybe take me through it? How is relevance relevant?
You are right, Siddharth. These definitions are pillar to our framework. So relevance highlight that if the ESG factors have the potential to impact the credit ratings in the medium term, say 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years is it?
Yes.
That's a frame.
And the relevance of the ESG factors is classified first at the sector level, and then it will be specifically analyzed at the individual entity level by the analyst.
Okay. Okay.
And we do not make any value or moral judgment on whether the ESG engages into a good or ESG practice.
Right.
But like I said, it is all about analyzing if the ESG factors have a positive or a negative influence on the credit metrics of the entity.
Yeah. So basically, just to see the impact on the credit metrics of the entity, that's the relevance angle. What about the
Right.
materiality side of it?
So, Siddharth, materiality is the sensitivity of the impact of the ESG factors on the entity's credit profile.
Okay.
So, the materiality can range from minimal to high, considering if it is one of the key rating driver for that factor while doing the credit rating assessment.
Right.
So that's why combining both these definitions, our scoring methodology, it is expressed as either irrelevant or minimally relevant or relevant or highly relevant.
Okay. Thanks for putting things firstly into context, Harshal. And maybe now move on to the next part, which I was interested in, and that's our key analysis based on data points. So I'm sure we would have got data points for the first quarter of calendar year 22. So from these data points from this first quarter, what have been the key observations or takeaways that you have noticed?
So, Siddharth, in the first quarter, India Ratings assigned this ESG relevance disclosures to listed issuers across the business groups
Right.
according to the
Right.
surveillance cycle.
Okay.
And there was one entity out of 96 entities
Okay.
which had 3 ESG factors which were relevant to its credit rating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
2 factors under environmental, such as in GHG emissions and air quality,
Okay.
and another one water and wastewater management,
Right.
and one in social, a group structure. They were found to be relevant to that entity, indicating that the ESG issues were one of the rating driver for that entity.
Wow, that's interesting. So already we are seeing, ESG becoming one of the key rating drivers for an entity. So that really helps, show us the way forward. But this is for listed issues. What about other entities, Harshal?
You are right, Siddharth. But for other entities, the ESG relevance disclosures were like largely minimally relevant, as the ESG factors were either having low impact or they were actively managed by them.
Right.
So we can say overall the exposure to ESG was not a material rating driver to the entities, except the one which we discussed.
Yeah. So right. So up till now, one entity has come forth. But this is what has happened up till now based on the past data.
Yes.
But what are you seeing in the future, in the medium term?
That's an interesting question, Siddharth. So, see, I think the growing awareness by the investors to include ESG factors in their investments and lending decisions, heightening demand for sustainable products from consumers like you and me, the policies promoting sustainable operations by regulatory bodies, and governance commitment to address climate change.
Right.
These things will definitely prompt the entities to take cognizance and mitigate the ESG risks.
Okay. Okay.
And at the agency level, we believe that the ESG factors could become center stage in the medium term and start playing an
Right.
increasing role in impacting the credits.
Fair enough, Harshal. So if I have to, take away something from this podcast, I mean, there are two things which I took away. First was the fact that you have come up with a sector relevance matrix at India Ratings, and this kind of highlights the sensitivity of ESG issues on various sectors. That's one key takeaway. Right. And the other key takeaway was that ESG risks are directly correlated with credit risk, and it's but natural that over time ESG issues could very well play an increasing role in impacting credit ratings in the future.
Absolutely right, Siddharth.
Wow, interesting stuff, Harshal. Thanks for coming on the Expert Lounge and putting things into context. If our listeners are interested in getting a deeper insight into today's topics, then all you need to do is click on the link shared along with the podcast. It contains a detailed report which was authored by Harshal on today's topic. But in the meanwhile, do stay tuned to the Expert Lounge. It's a podcast brought to you by India Ratings and Research, a Fitch Group company, because ultimately, for opinions on risk and credit, India comes to us.